As part of our move to be less reliant on LPG as we increase our solar and battery capacity, we recently moved from our 3-way absorption fridge to a 12-volt compressor fridge. So we have our old one here, which gives me the great opportunity to show you the kind of things it's worth thinking about to help keep it working as efficiently as you can, especially in hot weather. So if you have one, keep watching. Don't forget to check out our other videos on everything campervan and motorhome related, from solar to water, heating to gadgets, tyres to trips. If you like this video, please do hit the thumbs up, it really does help me to know what you like, and you can ask any questions or give feedback in the comments. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of our future videos, please hit the subscribe button, and clicking the bell will give you a notification when a new video goes live. Finally, if you do decide to hit the thumbs down, it would be great if you could also leave a comment so I know what you didn't like. Before we start, it's important I stress I'm not an electrical, gas or refrigeration professional. The things I'm going to share with you are just from my experience of using various 3-way fridges over the last 30 years. Anything you choose to do with your fridge is entirely at your own risk. But having said that, let's get this on the bench and get on with it. First, let's take a look at how an absorption fridge works and their pros and cons. Here's a very simplified diagram. Absorption fridges, just like compressor fridges, use a refrigerant gas that has a very low boiling point. When the refrigerant boils, it carries heat away with it and then condenses. This change of state between gas and liquid provides the cooling effect. The difference between an absorption fridge and a compressor fridge is how that refrigerant is converted from gas back into liquid, which allows the cycle to be repeated. Absorption fridges change the gas into a liquid by employing heat, with no moving parts other than the refrigerant gas, which goes around in a circle of tubes. As it uses heat rather than a mechanical compressor, it can be powered by LPG as well as 240 volts or 12 volts, hence the common name of 3-way fridge. The absorption cycle consists of 3 phases. Liquid refrigerant evaporates in a low pressure vessel, picking up heat from inside the fridge. The refrigerant, which is now a gas, is absorbed by a special salt solution. That solution is heated, causing the refrigerant gas to evaporate out. This hot refrigerant gas passes through a heat exchanger, transferring its heat to the outside ambient temperature air, and this heat loss causes the gas to condense back into a liquid, which then supplies the evaporation phase as the cycle starts over and continues to do this, as long as the heat is applied to the burner or heating coil. The way an absorption fridge is installed is critical to its effectiveness, with the rear of the fridge being sealed off from the living area of the van, and the van wall has low and high level vents, allowing cooler air to be drawn in at the bottom, pass across the condenser heat exchanger, and then is drawn out of the upper vent. These vents, when removed, also allow access to the main serviceable parts at the back of the fridge. The main pros of an absorption fridge are that they can be powered by LPG. It's also totally silent, unlike compressor fridges, and they tend to be lower cost to buy. Also, with no moving parts, you could say they are likely to be more reliable. However, there are some cons. Due to the flow of the refrigerant, they need to be level to work properly, or in some cases at all. In hot weather, if the ambient temperature of the outside air gets very hot and ventilation is restricted, then their performance can be impacted. Whilst fine to use on 12 volts when driving and the battery is being recharged from the alternator, they are not designed to be powered on 12 volts without the engine running. So this leads us to our first set of tips if you find the performance isn't great. Make sure the fridge is level. It's always most effective to chill the fridge down at least 24 hours before you set off travelling, and if you're experiencing hot temperatures outdoors, try to keep the side of the van with your fridge vents shaded and plenty of airflow around the vents. You may also want to look at improving the ventilation. As a short-term measure, this could be removing the vents to make the airflow better, or installing an electric fan in the top vent blowing out to help keep the rear of the fridge well ventilated. There are off-the-shelf models, or simply adding a couple of 12-volt PC fans is what lots of people do. Keeping the fridge running well is often down to good maintenance, and if you find something isn't working as well as it should, the following steps may help to find the problem. Before we start, remember we're dealing with both 240 volts AC electricity and flammable LPG gas, both of which are a danger if you don't know what you're doing. So if you don't feel suitably competent, ensure you consult a professional. First, we're going to check the electrical heating elements are working. We can do this by checking the current or power they are using and validating the elements are getting warm. Inside the fridge, it confirms the power of the elements, and we can first test the 12 volt DC element. Seeing a draw of 10 amps is where we would expect it. And we can see it's getting hot on the thermal camera. You can confirm this carefully with your hand. Now we can test the 240 volt element. We're seeing a current draw of 0.35 amps and power consumption of around 110 watts, which is slightly lower than the 125 watts we were expecting. But again, the element seems to be heating well. If either of the elements have failed, you can buy replacements online. You can also buy replacement gas burners, but if you're having problems with the gas, often a clean is all it needs. So let's have a look at doing that. For the purpose of this test, I'm using a test gas supply from an on-bottle regulator. When installed, the fridge would have a solid gas supply pipe from a bulkhead regulator. With the ignition switched on, we'll switch on the gas and hold in the dial until we hear it light. Holding it for a further 10 seconds or so allows the flame failure thermocouple to warm up. Most fridges have a small observation window to allow you to view the gas flame, which should be crisp and blue. Having switched it off and allowed everything to cool, let's look at the basic maintenance. We'll remove the flue extension and inside the flue find the baffle, which we can remove and clean if necessary. At the bottom of the flue is the burner enclosure, which we can remove and clean out. A single screw allows us to move the burner carefully away from the bottom of the flue. I then position something to capture any dirt from the flue and use a makeshift flue brush of some spread out copper wire to remove any deposits inside the flue. As you can see, this one is pretty clean. I then use compressed air to remove any loose build-up on the burner, igniter and thermocouple. Before using a suitable brush to loosen any stubborn dirt and then a final blast of air to get that away. Whilst the burner is loose, I can check the igniter is sparking effectively. I then remount the burner, and before popping everything back together, I give the burner a quick check. I then use a combustible gas detector to check that I've not caused any leaks in the system. With everything up and running, we can see the heat generated at the back of the fridge and the cold environment that creates inside the fridge. After a few hours, usually overnight, the temperature in the fridge should be around the 5-degree mark and the freezer should be in the -15 to -20 range. The fridge will work the most effectively when clean and free from dust and dirt, so giving the rear of it a clean up and making sure the vents are nice and clean and clear will help. Another problem can be that over time the thermal transfer from the cooling coils in the back of the fridge to the fins inside of the fridge can degrade. This can be because the thermal transfer paste that helps this process also degrades and dries up. Removing the fins is a pretty simple job and thermal transfer paste can be bought online. Make sure that it's compatible with aluminium. This can be applied between the pipe embedded in the back of the fridge and the aluminium plates. Another issue if the fridge has not been in regular use can be that the refrigerant has separated. Often I've heard recommendations to turn the fridge upside down. Well, this may work, but it may also cause worse problems. A better option is to give the fridge a good shake up. So find a cobbled or rough road and go for a drive. If that doesn't solve it, then separation may not be the issue, but it could be a blocked evaporation venturi. Now this is where turning the fridge may help to unblock it, but if you turn it the wrong way, you could also block it more. So as a last resort, with some extra pairs of hands, turn the fridge over anti-clockwise when facing the back of the fridge with the flue on the right, smoothly and continuously 2 or 3 times. This may help to remove the blockage. If it doesn't, then to be honest, it's probably time for a new fridge. Thanks for watching our video, and as always, if you have any questions or feedback, please pop them in the comments below. If you find the video useful, please like, share and consider subscribing.